You may think that you are fine, but tell that to a doctor of the mind, who there alongside lightning bolts administers 20,000 volts. So don't trust what's on the poster. It's Pibbles playing Planet Coaster.
Hello, my name's Mr. Pibbles, but you can call me Peter, and welcome back to our horror park series. Well, I say horror, Halloween park series here in Planet Coaster 2. Now, I had a very eventful last episode, as you'll see right now. Yes, in the last episode, we started work on our brand new area of the park, that being the St. King Asylum. And we got a little bit done. We placed down and themed up this flat ride here. That being, well, it doesn't have a name quite yet, but it will do by the end of this little jaunt into this episode. And we got work done on this, our lovely roller coaster inside of the asylum. And let's just quickly turn the lights on. There we go. And yes, you can see here that we've got probably a third of the layout done. I've got to finish the rest of this off now. And that is the plan for this episode. And then we will do a bit of theming around this. So without further ado, let's just get into the time-lapse. Yes, hello and welcome to the time-lapse. I'm the time, you're the lapse. There's only so many ways you can come in and say the exact same thing. So I'm trying my best here. But that is to say, welcome back to the time-lapse footage here in our spooky park here in Planet Coaster 2. Now, what are we doing in this episode? Well, as I said earlier, we are just continuing on with our St. King Asylum area of the park, which is quite fun because obviously in the last episode we got a lot of this roller coaster done, and in this episode we are just finishing that off, basically with the rest of the layout and a lot of the theming, which I can tell you for free now takes a while. Like, I wish I was exaggerating when I said that this is the longest time it's taken me to create a single ride in this game, but it really isn't. Like, this has taken me absolutely ages to get to this point, but I am glad that I'm finally here. So we are currently sorting the back half of the layout, and this all takes place sort of once you've gone down that drop track, once you've had the show scene in the middle, which we will get onto later. And you drop down and then you come out the front of the asylum, and then you dip back inside and come down this switch track through our little heartline roll back in the corridor, and now you're here in sort of this space. And the whole idea of this is that obviously at this point you're still in the asylum, but you are very much in a headspace now. You know, you've gone through whatever happens in the middle, and you're now like, ooh, okay, I'm now here, and things are going slightly mad. And as I say, that's the point of this back section. So theming wise, it's not much, but it is a lot of, for want of better phrasing, walls with... It's basically a black box with a star field in it, so that when you're going through, it's almost Twilight Zone-esque in a way. But with what we've got here, kind of this is supposed to be the half of the ride where most of the action is happening in terms of the inversions and the interesting parts of the layout. So, obviously, you've gone through the thing, you turn the corner into this section, and you start off with this loop, which it is a perfect circle loop, 360 loop, because they are just easier to make on coasters that aren't meant to invert like this. Then of course you go into the lovely little corkscrew that I've built there before coming up on a helix, having a bit of an airtime hill before diving back down through the loop and up through here. This of course is all going to be done mostly in the dark with the starfield around, and you can see the coaster in the back there going around it, and we do have to play a little bit with the speeds of things here and there, just because it just needs it. Like, it's one of those things of you know, we've only got a little bit of energy because you're only coming from the top of the asylum, so you know. But yes, obviously then you've got the I believe it's a 0G roll back over the track before you're into this helix, and then once you've done this, I believe then we are out of this little bit of the layout, which is fun. From memory, yeah, you can see it there, and even with that little bit of boost there, it doesn't make it over, but we are looking good on fear and excitement on this back half. So what we do is we just kind of sort this out in a way so we can get another launch in here, just to you know, make it a little bit quicker around this back half of the layout, which is all fun. And you can see me here just watching it come up, and then now 3 points if you can tell me what I've done wrong here, because I haven't noticed it at this point. But I can tell you that I have put the launch the wrong way round, hence why I'm here getting it in now and just smoothing that all out. I'm watching it, you know, pop down this way. Obviously you can see it into the drop track, down it goes, up the front, down the front, and there we go. Finally it makes it through. It launches up there with enough speed to then make it through the roll, round the helix, back up, and there we go. Now, taking this forwards into this bit, smoothing that all out, and kind of making it fit a lot better. We then come up here, and we're just adding another bit of a track on the end. As I say, this was a real fun challenge for me, because I'm not a natural coaster builder in this game. I much prefer the theming side of it and making everything look nice. So having the chance to actually properly come in and build a roller coaster that was a bit more interesting than the ones that I usually build was really much more up my alley, especially given that here obviously it is fully themed inside. And speaking of side, I did toy with having a sidewinder element here, but I just went, you know what, it's just going to be easier to have a block section, so we block section that before we get the drive tyres in to get it to the station, with then a little bit of a dip and back up the other side after the brake run, which should mean that hopefully we're allowed a number of cars on here, and I say that as if I don't already know that we've got 3 cars on there. And you can see now a little sneak peek of the layout, although, you know, you probably weren't able to see it well because of the speed of the time-lapse. But yes, obviously you can see it there going through the layout with the 3 cars, and I'm just testing to see how high the rating is, and to be fair, with a 4.91, I can't complain too much. It's better than, you know, what I usually expect to have on a coaster that I build. But there we go, sticking in the exit queue line, the exit line down here, and just caving it in, boxing it in, just to make it look quite nice. You know, you can't complain about it. And sticking it all down here like this, it just looks quite, well, it looks quite bare bones now. I promise it will get better. And we now turn our attention to the theming on the front. I'm a bit all over the place in this episode, I won't lie. You know, I do one thing, then I go back to do the other, and then suddenly I'm doing another third thing. But I can't complain about it because the entire goal is just finding, you know, an end goal that makes sense. But there we go. But yes, you can see me just sticking a roof on this middle section, mostly to see how it looks. And I wanted a veranda around this sort of bit of queue here, just to make it look a little bit nicer. You know, this is where you'd have the grand staircase going up and then a massive front door. Of course, we don't have a massive wooden front door, but what can you do? You have to make do with what you have. And coming into the pause section, a lot of this is me looking at reference footage and kind of making sure I know what I'm doing and what it all looks like. We add the ever so fated camera, because what else do you need to make money? Not that we need money, but I just like putting in photos and just making it look nice. Now obviously we start off by placing the camera there, but ultimately, you know, I don't think it looks right. But yeah. I think ultimately where we do end up having it is just before the drop track, which to me makes, you know, why is this one of the places that has the highest rating? Because, you know, it's a flat piece of track, you're not going too fast, and I wonder if it's because you can see you're coming up on this piece of track that doesn't go anywhere. So maybe that's why the excitement and all the ratings are good, but, you know, I'll never know. And coming in and just connecting that up there, connecting it up with a path, and yeah, that's the exit through the gift shop sorted. And we are coming up with a name for this now. And don't worry, we do not stick with the name correction. The name ultimately gets changed again, and I do a little bit of marketing outside of the game just to make something that looks nice and kind of theme it up a little bit cooler. But there we go. As you can see now, I am sorting out this little bit in front of the drop track segment. So the idea is you'll sort of come into this room, there'll be a massive sort of electrical machine that will buzz, the lights will go out, then you'll drop. Now I couldn't quite do electricity because electrical sparks and stuff don't exist in this game. Well, I think electrical sparks do, but like you can't get lightning and stuff like that. But there we go. I've ended up with one of the sorcery pieces, and you can see there that whole section is done. You can see that I've blocked it in there, and a lot of the rest of this episode is going to be me sort of building this big black box, which is all fun stuff. It's going to be very monotonous for the first section of this. So I can only apologise for that. But you can see me... I thought actually this is probably the part of the process that's maybe not the most interesting, but, you know, I can get the most content out of this and I can talk over it. And actually what I can do is I can go, so this is what I was thinking, and this is where we're going next. Which is the question, you know, if you are enjoying this series, then please let me know down in the comments. I would love to know what you're thinking of this project and whether you'd like to see any more sort of mini park projects in between things. And as well as that, we are sort of not coming towards the end of this mini-series quite yet, but we are slowly heading that way, and the question is where we go afterwards, because I'm fully kind of into my studies now, which is fun, which means I don't have as much time as I did. So I'm, in terms of going back to the challenge park, we might have to take that down to possibly 1 or 2 episodes a week. Probably one if you're wanting more series on top of that, but that's something we can think about moving forward. But yes, you can see me getting in these star fields. I will tell you again for free, these star fields do not stay this size because it's just doesn't look right. So taking that all out, we instead go for singular blocks of Starfield that we just copy over, and it is a long process. But there we go. But yeah, it's ultimately like this roller coaster is the longest I've taken building a ride in this game. I would say I tell a lie, because I have had a dark ride that also took quite a while, but I don't think this took as long. That took as long as my Odyssey themed boat ride that's in my kind of forever park that my big budget park that I started ages ago. Which, funny story, was meant to be the start of my Planet Coaster playing, and that's the whole reason that I started the park. Is I was like, okay, let me just get some infrastructure in, and then I'll start recording some episodes and stuff. And then I just didn't record any episodes. I got in and I started playing, and I just didn't stop, which I suppose is a testament to how fun this is as a game, because I'm just captivated by it. There's so much I can do in the game, and there's a lot that happens with it, and it's just there. And I love the flexibility you've got in this game. There is so much you can do, and there's so much you can learn by watching other people play and ultimately playing yourself. So if you are interested in at playing any games like this, then I would implore you to get this. I am not sponsored or anything by Frontier, but what can I say? I am just a lover of this game. And again, I would love in the future to do kind of more interesting series in this game alongside the Challenge Park series. I'd love to do sort of again, another big budget park that's sort of like that. Maybe something a little bit more like the Pleasure Beach over in Blackpool. Something that is just a little bit more, not intercity, but that kind of is sort of this beachfront thing with limited space that all takes place in sort of a city. I know that I can't remember the name, but somebody has done something similar since, so it might not be exactly the same, but kind of I saw it, I went, oh, that'd be interesting to try and do my own take on it. So yeah. And of course, I have already mentioned before that I am a big fan of Digital Dan, and to say that to say that I'm not inspired by him would be lying. So I would at some point potentially like to do some sort of studios park where I build a park full of lands based on IPs that I'm interested in, which very well may be something to do with musical theatre, because that's something I'm really interested in, and I think a park that's all based on these musicals could be really interesting. So if that's something you'd like to see, then please just drop me a comment and let me know below. But yes, obviously we are done with the massive block of stars in the middle, so now we are working on another little bit, and this is the bit that's in the second it's not a 0G roll, it's a heartline, the second heartline roll that we've got in here. And whereas with the first heartline roll that's in the first half of the layout, that's all very the room stays where it is, and then you go through it. This one is meant to be instead that the room kind of flips with you, so it looks a little bit wacky, but I like it because it's sort of meant to be sort of the start of the representation that, oh, actually, now that you've gone through this experiment or whatever, things aren't quite right. And it took a little bit of time to kind of get it right. This is another one of the things that I tried out ahead of time before kind of hitting the record button again and trying to get something that actually works. And so you can see that we start off with a very basic kind of frame here of this 2x2 square, 4x4 square, well, technically 4x4x2 square, filled with these doors and these walls. And the reason I've gone for a 4x4x2 instead of a 4x4x4 or like a, well, instead of a 4x8 or whatever, is simply because it was just too big if I made the room a rectangle. So I went for a square instead, so that it doesn't clip through the floor of any other room, which is good. You know, you don't want to be going through a room and then suddenly, oh, there's something there. And it looks really sloppy how I'm doing it here, but I can promise you that it turns out a lot better than it looks here. Like, what we've got here looks very kind of wacky in that, you know, you've got doors everywhere and the lights are everywhere. But again, that just sort of kind of works for the type of project that this specific ride is. And I know that there are gaps, that's completely fine, because the plan is then to sort of get in and build a black box around this so that no light sleeps in. But yeah, it is all really, really fun and interesting stuff. Yeah, it is quite fun to kind of get these bits in and make something that, again, is a little different to what I usually build. Because any of you who have seen my challenge park will know that, you know, we built 2 roller coasters there. They're both very much outdoor coasters with little bits of theming here, but it's ultimately kind of the environment that lends itself to a lot of terraforming or whatever. Like with our Barnstormer, that's a lot of rocks and trees. Like with our Sakura, which again is a lot of rocks and trees. But here, because it's all indoors, I have to rely on slightly different methods. And so with this sort of almost spinning room effect, I know it's not quite a spinning room in the classical sense, because, you know, I think spinning room, I think traditional ghost train or a Vekoma Madhouse, which aren't quite, you know, what's here, but instead what is here almost gives the effect that the room is rotating with you, and I kind of like it. You know, if I was doing this in a different way, I might set it out in a way where the room rotates, but there we go. I think we're getting to the end of the time lapse now. Okay, so welcome back to real time. We have got quite a bit done in this episode, in that we finished off this roller coaster. We have built these last 2 bits here, and we've got this little bit done here. So I'm going to do a little bit off camera, probably just to make sure all of this fits in with the with the coaster, and then in the next episode we'll probably look at getting the front of this building all done. Now, if you have enjoyed this episode, please give me a like, give me a comment, possibly even a follow if I am lucky, and I will see you in the next episode. Roll that outro.